Okay, we're high tech here so far. Thanks everybody for coming. I'm with Stroops, and we are working on some brain injury, neuroplasticity, and dynamic rehabilitation as we return to play. We'll talk more about this as we go. Let's see if I learn this. Just a little background about myself. I'm a two-time academic All-American football player. Matter of fact, we'll talk about Quincy in the back. I played at Highland High School in my undergraduate in Pocatello, Idaho, for those locals here. State championship while I was there at Highland, and went on to a national championship when I played at Snow College. I have a master's degree in mechanical engineering. Went to Lehigh University where I played there, and then I spent pretty much my entire life creating and inventing products for the rehab and athletic performance space. One of the things that we really talk about in our world is train like you play. So why just work out? One of my favorites is bench press. Whoever does, if you see somebody doing bench press, that's great. But when in the world do you ever see them training or playing, laying on the back, pushing up? So why do you train to do a bench press? Is there a better way to do it? That's one example. We'll talk about more of that as we go through. The other one is training at the speed of life. A lot of times, again, the bench press. Okay, in real life, you're pushing hard, you're moving really quick. So why don't we train at the speed of life? The third one is movement optimization, or optimizing your movement. Those are really key principles at Stroops. So one of the first inventions that I created was an elastic that was safe. Someone asked me to invent an elastic you could use in rehab and physical therapy and for sports performance. I said, well, the problem is when you start exercising, when they break. When they break, they slap people in the face, they cause injuries, and so I'm not really interested in creating a product that's going to injure people. So I invented a sleeved elastic. You put a sleeve on it, you can't overstretch it. If it ever wears out and breaks, it stays encased inside, no one gets injured. So I invented this product. We call it the seat belt or the airbag for resistance training. So let's bring this back in. I'll bring this back into how we can do this for concussion rehab. This is kind of the goal for this topic here. And as I did some research on this, there's a couple different ways that you can do concussion analysis. And one of them was this SAC, a lot of verbal memory stuff. Okay, that's great. There's this other test that's all visual. Some other tests are all static, balance or whatever it is. And then there's this Buffalo test called on a treadmill that goes up and down with some cardio stuff. And I thought, oh, those are really nice tests. I don't know much about them. But in my world, I want my athlete back on the field. So they could quote numbers, they can do statistics in their head, they can recite what day they were born. At the end of the day, if they can't go on the field and they can't play dynamically, I don't really care. So can they perform? Yes, the cognitive stuff is great, but can they actually move? And so if that's the case, is there potential for a new dynamic concussion test protocol? Because right now, I've talked to a lot of the therapists here and athletic trainers, they don't know of any dynamic test that they can do that's out there that can test whether the athlete's ready to go on the field or not. And is it possible to use the same equipment to treat as well as test? There's some testing stuff, but there's also some treating stuff. And can this be done in a small, controlled environment? Because a lot of times, like, hey, we're going to do this, then run over there and do this, run over there and do this, go out on the field and do this. It's really, really complex. If you have a controlled environment, it'll be very good. So, every week, I was playing college football. I got injured all the time. And this is one of the stories from Highland High School, Quincy back there. I was one of his first athletes in a couple of years that missed one of my games due to an injury. And he expressed to me the frustration he had that I was one of his athletes that didn't make it into the game. And at the time I thought, it's all about the athlete. Me, I want to be the only one out of the game. I got to be out there. But I realized the importance it is for the athletic trainer as well as the coaches to have their athletes out on the field. So there's an important value there. So getting people out on the field, because everyone wants to play and everyone wants to be in the game. And that's not just the athletes. I consider everybody that moves an athlete. Okay? Luckily, I never received a concussion because they never tested me for concussion. I got my head knocked off multiple times and I couldn't see straight, but they never said I had a concussion. So doing a little research, it's pretty basic. Returning to play, first rest, do a little aerobics, get sport specific, non-contact, full contact practice, and then eventually we want to return to play. There's nothing really wow about that, but these are some of the steps. Okay, usually what happens, this is my experience. Hey, let's get on a treadmill, or let's get on let's see if this works. Oh, my video didn't play. How do you get the videos to play? We don't know? Oh, here we go. Did it work? Okay, so this is, did yours play up there? Okay, so this is a traditional workout for me. You get on there, the bike, and then you get on a rower, and I'm like, okay, that's great, awesome. I got my cardio going, because a lot of people say, get back and get cardio going within the first 48 hours of once you got a concussion. And I'm like, well, that's really nice, but in my world, my athletes play standing on their feet. So that's nice you can row, nice you can bike, but I gotta get you on your feet. So if I put you on most treadmills, they are motorized. Put your foot on it, moves it back. Put your foot on it, moves it back. Well, when you get on it, ours is a motorless flat treadmill. It's the only one in the world, motorless flat treadmill. So you are the guy, are you not seeing this? What did I do? I hit what? Will this just play the... Now it's working. Let's hit the dance button. I don't want to touch that. Okay, let's try this. So here I am. This is a motorless flat treadmill. So it moves as fast as you do. This requires your brain to engage to tell yourself to propel. It doesn't just put your foot on it and move it back. Okay? Then we have a cage around the outside to add additional force, but just the treadmill itself will just move as you go. So you could actually support somebody. In the far left, you'll see the guy, maybe he's got a severe concussion and he has an erratic gait pattern. You see we have an offloading support mechanism that you can get supported as needed. But this works also for people who are not athletes or not traditional athletes. Here you can see a guy with a severe knee injury who's trying to rehab, and he can be offloaded support, and you can see the treadmill actually keeps the pace that he goes. So as you move along through your concussion rehab, you might move to the point where you're just one-handing it, and eventually want to get ready for the game, whether that be walking outside or not, and you can go from a jog to an all-out sprint without ever touching the monitor and back down to 0. The fastest guy we ever had on this treadmill is about 22 to 23 miles an hour. From start to stop in like a fraction of a second, he's up to 23 miles an hour. Okay? If you needed to, and your athlete needs a little decompression on his knees, ankles, hips, whatever it might be, or if you're really concerned about your athlete, whether it be a normal person or not, we can actually offload them as well. The more bands you put across the top, the more assistance you give. So that's possible. As we move along our concussion world, at least with athletes that go on the field, they need to go backwards. So you can actually walk backwards. You see this guy is very hesitant. Matter of fact, get on the treadmill yourself. Pretty hesitant. I'm not really sure what it is. But to be game ready, I got to be able to go forward and backwards. Now the next level up on this, I can actually do an asymmetric load. And you can see he's holding on. He's a little bit nervous about this. He starts to take his hands off. His brain is super firing. If you've never been on this, you can come try it. There's some ladies here in the front row. They're smiling because they've been on this. And they're like, oh my gosh, your brain's clicking. How do I make this work? How do I get my brain to function? Because in the real world, we have these challenges where we get asymmetric loading. This is another one where we have, on the far left, you're seeing asymmetric load where he's working a hip flexor. He may be injured that hip flexor, and he needs to be working on driving it forward instead of dragging hip. We had one athlete who was actually in a car accident, and he was dragging his hip. When we'd actually tied the elastic to this leg, he had to keep pulling it forward. His brain would then tell these muscles in the hip, they have to engage forward. The core has to engage forward. So when we took him off, those muscles were being told by the brain, fire, 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 so he could walk straight. He took that off, he's like, oh my gosh, my hips have never walked this straight in my life. Really cool, it only happens in a couple of minutes. In this particular case, you have a hip rotation as well as a knee. So I can rehab, but I can also confuse the brain to do more neuro rehabilitation on this. Okay? So we go to the next one. This one allows, we actually have a baseball player, I don't know if you see her, he's right there in the middle. We tested him out on this. Normally what happens in a shoulder rehab, you'll do a series of shoulder motions, which are usually done when you're flat on the ground. But in real life, as we train like we play, we have to move. Sometimes you throw off a right foot, sometimes we do the left, sometimes we shuffle. With this particular case, we can actually move, switching left foot, right foot, right foot. And we all know that the body's connected from top to bottom, from right hand down to the left foot or right foot. Different muscles are engaged throughout the whole process. So as you engage, your brain has to refunction. And if we do this one in the left, this guy's actually doing a dynamic training. So not only as you stretch the band, it goes faster and slower, doing a dynamic motion. So the brain's super firing in this condition. And now he's ready to go to the field. Now the next level, this is kind of the elite level. The elite level for my athletes to get back on the field is going to handle, usually in most sports, you're bumping into somebody or hitting each other randomly. And so the next step up is this one. This one is kind of like I would consider walking a dog. Okay, you have a random force, and you can do this with older people if they want to get ready to go back outside and walk outside. You have a random force, my dog's chasing a squirrel, over her chasing another dog, whatever. Can you continue to maintain your balance while you're walking? So an external load that's randomly there. Now you'll see this, matter of fact, I had a couple people out here who was actually out here testing this, and they were cheating. As I did this, they let their arm work as a shock absorber. Okay? So to remove the shock absorber effect, if you on the left-hand side, we attach it directly to the belt. Now I have a football player smack another guy, a lacrosse person, a basketball person. Can I continue to maintain my pace? And you'll see, you saw him lose his balance. Okay? If I was in a normal treadmill, I would fall on my butt and get launched off the back, and you just scrape him up off the ground and throw him back on the field. Okay? That's what normally happens. And I've seen this with high-speed treadmills too. Like, hey, let's get on this treadmill, run as fast as I can. You misstep, you launched off the back. If you've never seen this, just go on YouTube. There's a lot of those. But in this one, what's really cool is if you fell down, the treadmill would stop before you got off the back of the treadmill. Doesn't matter if you're going 20 miles an hour or not. But if your athlete can handle an external random load from a football player or another athlete, in my mind, he's pretty dang close to going back on the field. Now, some of you out there have said, hey, we can up this one more. We can put some lights up here. They can have to smack the lights. You can do a lacrosse throw. You could mimic the entire sport. If you can mimic the entire sport while playing in this environment, then you're ready to go on the field. If you're not, you can't go. So is there some protocols that can be created to do this? Now, we talked about the regular athlete, but does this work for regular people too? This is an older gentleman, the first time he's walked without his walker in 2 years. He's got his little safe support harness on, maybe a little bit of offloading, but in case he ever fell, he has that support. This is one of the highlights of my life. This lady has cerebral palsy. She came up with her mother, she doesn't speak, and she saw all these kids walking on this treadmill and says, I want to do that. And she's actually a physical therapy student, I believe. So we pulled her out of her wheelchair, right there. We offloaded her, and I helped her figure out how to move her legs forward. We could actually attach elastics in the front to help lift her forward. But she was learning how to push off, and she was super stoked. Super stoked. Matter of fact, we had a guy that had a spinal injury. This is at the University of Lynchburg. We actually put him in this, retaught him how to do it. He could never walk without support. Within 15 minutes, he walked on this of training, and then he was able to walk across the room with no support. Why? Because we've retrained the brain and the body to work together so when they get off, they could go. Okay? So, what have we learned so far? Once you add unfamiliar load to the client, you can immediately see in their eyes and brain is recalculating. It's super cool. You watch your eyes like, wow, I got to balance again. Within 30 seconds to 2 minutes, most people figure out the brain recalculates the walking or the movement pattern. Which is really interesting, and most people will walk for, but maybe the first time they do it is from 2 to 5 minutes. Some of the people that you guys out there have tried this out, and also, why my back's getting so tired? Why is this getting so tired? Because your muscles, your brains were never requiring those muscles to fire during that activity, and now we're forcing them to participate. And the brain's now saying, you guys have to participate. You can no longer be lazy in order to perform this activity. Number 3, once stepping off the movement optimizer, all the clients feel an immediate difference. This is especially done with posture. people are going to start walking like this, or they'll flip their leg forward, or whatever it might be. Short-term effects usually last from 30 minutes to 24 hours. With repetition and long-term gait and posture changes have occurred faster than other techniques, and results are so instant that many of the clients will come back by themselves. I'm going to do this myself. I felt amazing. Let me do this myself. Here's an example on the far left. This is done by Dr. Joe Betts out of Boise, Idaho. The far left picture, you'll see what the spine was. The red's where it is, where it's green's supposed to be, and after 6 weeks, that's where the spine was matching where it's supposed to be. This QR code will actually bring you to a series of videos where you can see many other gait correction setups, posture corrections, testimonials of athletes, or whatever you want to see. There's hundreds of them out there to do it. Everybody get that? We can send this to you. There's still some people taking some pictures, so I'll hold off on a second. But there's athletes talking about and regular people talking about how their gait's been corrected, their posture's been corrected. So what are we doing now? This particular piece of machinery has only been out for less than 2 years. Right now we're looking for individuals who want to be on the cutting edge. Do you want to try something new? Do you think it's going to work? Most of the people I've talked to said, oh my gosh, this works. Is there a new, this is a very interesting one. Number 2, is there a new dynamic protocol we can create for concussions that help them to measure dynamic concussions right now? Are they able to go back on the field yet? What are those standards? Does anybody want to help create those standards? One of the problems if we create those standards is we're the company. And they're like, yeah, you're kind of biased. If it's done by a third party, it becomes more legit. The last one is, what individuals can set up proven cookie cutter setups for different situations? What we've learned in this world doing this is I found a lot of cooks, meaning you tell me the recipe, how I'm supposed to set it up, how long I'm supposed to do this, and then I can duplicate it. But there's very few chefs who actually create the protocol, create the recipe, create whatever it is, and once they create the standard, then they can actually share it with other people, and then they can duplicate it. If you want references, tons of references, all kinds of stuff. And we're over here in the booth. Come try us out. If you do, if you come try it out, we have one of those elastic bands with the safe elastic, the slastics. You can get one of those for trying it out and come quiz us and let us know you want to be part of what we're doing. Thanks.